We're talking It. Welcome to Derry, the new horror series on HBO Max. And the first feeling I get about this show is this is not about the kids at all. So, your boy Pennywise is back, coming in our first part of three parts. So I did some research coming out in three parts. We are in 1962 right now, which is 27 years before the events of the first It in 2017. We will also go back to 1935 and 1908, which is interesting they're doing that here. So, Pennywise is back. We got a new brand of kids. We got Lily, we got Ronnie, we had Teddy, Phil, and his sister, who were the losers. But in episode one, we know what happened to them. But there's a lot of things I want to talk about in this series. It's minor league film. So go ahead and hit that like button, hit that sub button. We are chasing that 1,000 mark, and we will have a gift card giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. So please help us get there. But without further ado, it's minor league films. Let's jump into it.
There's a history of stuff like this happening in Derry. We need to figure out what it actually is. Is it gonna happen again?
So this show has a lot of things going on right now. We are two episodes in. The first episode being the pilot, the second episode being the thing in the dark. A couple of things I want to talk about. So, told you this show comes in three parts. I think it's interesting that we're going to have a three-part series. I like that because we get to explore this world more. And a question we've all had that I've had for a while without really reading the books myself, but having some background knowledge is one, what is the origin of it? Where did he come from? How long has he been in this town causing havoc? And what's really going on here with adults around? So I'm gonna start off with my theory. I don't think this show is about the kids. I think at the end of the first episode where we had the kind of the new loser bunch die, and I'll talk about them more in a minute. That was my first thought is like, this isn't about the kids at all. I think this show is going to be more based on the adults. I know we have military stuff going on in the background. I know we have the introduction of Dick Halloran, which from The Shining, if you did not know, which is an interesting piece here. And obviously he has The Shining, and I believe that Leroy Hanlon, the main black guy who's in the military, he has it too, and Dick Halloran can see that. So like that, but a couple things going on here. So one, there's a lot of connections, and me and Scotty are going to talk about this in a future video. But there's a lot of connections to this Stephen King series. I mean, obviously, with a couple books here of connection, we've had The Shining, obviously with Dick Halloran coming in here. We saw in the trailer that we're going to have some connection to The Mist, or possibly The Mist show up here. Tommy Knockers, where it supposedly came from. Pennywise, obviously was on that ship, and he escaped. So a lot of connections going on here, and I do like actually blending these series and having some other connections to his world, because Stephen King has built this giant world. He hasn't necessarily closed the loop on everything, and some stuff he just got tired of and didn't want to finish writing. But it would be nice to get some answers and see how these things actually connect. So talking about this world that we have, obviously the town of Derry, obviously we know horrifying place, and it's for kids especially. We have Maddie in the first episode who dies very early on in a very graphic way, and kind of horrifying for kids. I think what they do to the kids and the scares, I think there's some elite scares in here. Not all of them are great. Obviously, we have the one with Teddy where he has a lampshade. I didn't think that was actually fantastic, but the one with Ronnie, what's going on with her, Lily, they are driving her crazy. And what happened to Maddie, I think, and obviously the violence at the end of the first episode all paves the way to think there's going to be some really good, I won't say terrifying scares, but some really good moments, some really tense things where you see kids in danger, and that's never fun to watch, no matter what you're watching. And obviously, the ruthlessness of Pennywise in the show. So in the first couple of episodes, we've gotten a little bit of teasing by Pennywise. He's kind of messing with these kids, and that's something we've seen through the first the It in the '90s series. I don't remember if we've seen it in the second It that came out more recently, but we know he likes to mess with these kids and obviously terrorize them and build up their fear, and things like that. So I think we're in the very early parts of that, but there's just so many things to play here that makes this interesting. I talked about it in the before, and we've seen him quite a few times. The turtle, the symbol, Matt Turin. Are we actually gonna see him? We have this military subplot going on that we're looking for something. Now, could that be Pennywise? Possibly. And they know he's around here somewhere, and they kind of want him because they want something that it's talked about in, I believe, the second episode. They want something that strikes in the fear of their opponent of the Cold War. Now, is that Pennywise who strikes that fear? Because I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. At this point, I've seen Pennywise ass whooped by a bunch of kids. I don't know if that's necessarily the route I go. We know he can do some terrorizing things, but I mean, I wouldn't throw him in a war if he's over here getting beat up by kids. I guess that hasn't happened yet, but we've seen it. So So we know. But is that maturing? Is that something else that, maybe is that the miss? I don't know if that is that something else that one of Stephen King creatures or something from one of his books that they are looking for that just has connection to in this town called Derry at this point. We also know there's some Native American kind of influence here. We got a later character. I don't know his name, but we've seen him obviously in that future trailer of all the episodes. So we know there's going to be some kind of Native American influence here. A couple of things I want to talk about. So let's start with these kids. So we have Lily, the main group, Ronnie. We had Teddy, Phil, and his sister. Obviously, those three did not make it, but we have Will coming in here. We have Marge, who's been around. We have Rich, the band kid, who one who told Will to run. If you're forgetting, because we only seen him for a couple of minutes there. I First of all, I really like the kids. I like the kids in this season. I think they're acted very well. And I was riding with them, and honestly, it kind of that's what kind of made the ending of the first episode so, I guess, so heartbreaking. Was like, man, I didn't think, I thought it was gonna be another scare. I thought they were gonna get scared and run up out of there. I did not think Pennywise was gonna tear up those kids like that. Speaking of, let me know what you think about that like demon baby thing. I think it's pretty weird. I would rather some other form, but we get so far. I'm sure we're gonna see Pennywise pretty soon here. I'm not too worried about that. But let me know what you think about that. But I did not expect the ruthlessness of Pennywise and these kids. It felt like I felt like at that point we're something that we've skipped over in those movies where we realized kids were missing. We've obviously seen kids go missing and not really see what happened to them in the other season. Obviously, we saw Georgie get torn apart, and we saw the one of the couple in the beginning of the second one get torn apart early. But once we've kind of had our group of kids, we kind of felt like they were safe. I think the show has done a good job of removing that level of safety because you think about it here, there none of these kids are are going to eventually be in the future. Now we know some people are safe, and I want to talk about this. There's a lot of connections here to future kids. I mean, obviously, Teddy, who's no longer with us, is the uncle of Steve Uris, I believe. Let me double check that. But he's the uncle of him, and I'll make sure I get that name right. Obviously, we have Will, Will and Leroy. They're the father of the black kid in the first movie, and I'm just blanking on names, so I'm gonna keep it moving. But they're the Mike, that's his name. Obviously, Will and Leroy, they're the father and grandfather of Mike, and show is Charlotte. She's the grandmother. So we have some connections here to other characters that's nice to see. So those characters are probably safe, but I feel like we're gonna deal with a lot of kids in here whose fate may be up, and they've already established that. And I saw the interview with the writer where he was like, I thought he thought killing, or the director, he thought killing the kids was brutal at first, but it was like it's a great idea to set the tone of the series. And I think that really sets the tone of what can happen in this world. And this is one of the few shows where it's like kids ain't safe. Like talking about a lot of times, like you probably feel comfortable most with kids. Not in this one. I you much rather be an adult because that means you probably got a good chance to live here. But the Rufus is Pennywise and how he deals with these kids, I really like these kids as actors. I think their fear is very portrayed well, and I think, to be honest, the way the show is going, I think it's kind of built for that mid tier audience. I think like you don't have to be an adult and have that background of Pennywise. I think really maybe not kids, but kind of that teenagery, that kind of gateway horror crowd can really enjoy this. I don't feel like these scares are really creepy. I mean, are really scary. I feel like they're kind of creepy at times, and we'll see if they ratchet up a little later. But I feel like this is a good gateway horror series as far as the first two episodes. For someone's interested in horror or people just getting into it, I feel like it won't terrorize your dreams unless you're just really that afraid of horror and certain things like that. But a lot of connections to the future. I'm looking forward to seeing how they explain those. Now we also have Leroy, who's kind of our main guy here, and I want to go to the adults right now. Leroy is in here. He's kind of our main guy, the Air Force pilot. He has a gift, well, maybe The Shining, but they don't call it that. He just doesn't have fear. I'm wondering how that is going to come to play in what he's looking for, because I don't think to take out Pennywise, you necessarily don't have to be afraid of something. I really do believe it's something else. If you've read the books, you may have more of a background than I do, so you can let me know what's going on with that. But I think Leroy is a very interesting character. Now, the thing I wondered is, one, how much Leroy is going to get involved with this Pennywise thing, because we've already seen him in a later movie. We've seen him in It. He was in there with Mike and helping him in the farm. And that kind of gets to one of my bigger theories in the show. And this also goes for Charlotte as well. For those two, we've seen this town, and this is something I want kind of answered the most in this series. That's why I say this is not about the kids at all. What's something I want to see? One of my theories is the longer you are in this town, the longer this magic or whatever that it has that he possesses over you, the more you just become numb to what's really going on, the terrorizing of the kids missing, the way they act around each other. I mean, we've seen already seen an episode where they're just beating a kid out in the middle of public, in the middle of downtown. Ain't no police stopping nothing, ain't no adults stopping nothing. And they're just like, oh, kids will be what the guy said at the store, boys will be boys. Well, Charlotte is the one person who says, "Okay, clearly, like he's just about the murder, and this is Stephen King world, so you know how the bullies are in Stephen King. They will kill you. you know, ain't nothing stopping them. We know how bullies have gotten, and as ridiculous they are, they will kill you. So I wonder how involved. I think Charlotte in this investigation and what's happening to these kids. I think she's going to get really involved in it. I actually think like of the adults, she's the most likely to get taken off the plate. I don't think she makes it out of this series. Now I hope she does. I like that actress. She's been in quite a few things. I think she's good in what she does. But as far as Charlotte as a character, I let me know, but I don't think she makes it out of here. I think she gets a little too involved in what's going on with Pennywise and try to stop things. Pennywise is like, well, if I got to take an adult off the board, it's not my preference. I love the kids, but I got to do that. So I think she is definitely off the board. It may affect Leroy down the line. We will see that, but I'm really interested to see if adults kind of, and the longer they're in the town, the more they kind of become numb to what's going on. Dick Halloran being in here, obviously from The Shining, talked about him earlier. I wonder what role he's going to play here. Now he's helping them find this kind of mystical object that they're looking for. So he has that part, but I wonder if we get some interaction between him knowing what's really going on with Pennywise, how much I feel like we're going to get a lot with him and Leroy in this series and maybe working together at some point. But I'm hoping the adults here really get invested in what's going on with these missing kids, what's going on with Pennywise. Obviously, we know the cops early on are terrible. I mean, what they did to Lily in the second episode, to getting her to lie on Hank, getting him thrown in jail to blame for the murder of Maddie, and obviously Ronnie was not too happy with that. But we know that. But also too is like then sending her back to the crazy house. It was like was a little crazy. And also too, I wonder, like we've seen these scenes where these kids are isolated and bad stuff happens to them and nobody's around. What happened to Lily in the store? What is everybody else seeing when that stuff kind of goes on? Because she's in the middle of a store. So my thing is, if she start acting crazy, she's been over there acting crazy for the last 5 minutes, and ain't nobody said nothing, ain't nobody stopped her, anything like that. So that kind of draws my attention. But I'm really hoping these adults get involved in this. That I think Charlotte will. I don't think there's any question we will. Obviously, Dick Halloran and Leroy from the military side, they're going to get involved, and maybe they're playing it at a different angle. But I'm very interested to see one how these events of the past. Obviously, they found I believe it was the mobsters at the end of episode 2. So, and I believe they're from 1935. So we're gonna see how they play in here. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how these adults play into this role. So we're gonna see what that overall. I think this series is really good so far. I'm hoping they're throwing a lot of stuff at us. I mean, we have a new batch of kids to really be around and learn. I mean, one, I'm glad Will can make it because he is just that's my heart, man. He just seems like a great kid. So, but for all these kids, and obviously the traumatic stuff they're dealing with, Pennywise, he harps on that. Obviously, Lily lost her dad, was already kind of making fun of her, having him in all the pickle jars and stuff like that. And then Ronnie, her dad, just got taking out the house. It was really just her and her grandmother, and how will Pennywise use that to kind of torment her as it goes on. So far, I really worry about the safety of these kids, and I'm really cheerful. But I think they're doing a great job. I think the actors are doing a great job, and I think the adults have me intrigued. I hope they don't add too much stuff in here. I don't need like a crazy amount of things going on in storylines and plots. Still haven't had the Native Americans come in yet. We still got the military plot just revving up to figure out what's going on with them. So I'm really interested to see where they go with that. But right now, my eyes are on what's going on with Dick Halloran and Leroy. I think those two are going to play a big role in what's going on with Charlotte, and then these kids as they dive further into the investigation. Hopefully, we get our last batch of well, not our last, but we get a batch of of losers that we can actually make it to the end with, because they surely wiped the slate clean. I think they're going to do a great job. I like the series so far, but I want to save some stuff and talk about it more with Scotty when he gets back, because he's well more into Stephen King, has read the books, and has it more in depth. And I want to ask him quite a few questions and obviously recap the episodes fully. So we will do that. But for right now, I need you to let me know what you were thinking about this series, Welcome to Derry. It and I'm so glad to have Bill Skarsgård back and the director from the first two movies. I think they're doing a great job together. So let me know what you think about the series. Right now, I'm saying this is a fully priced admission show right now. I'm really liking it, like really liking it. I thought that first episode was fantastic. The second episode introduced a lot of points that really got me intrigued here. So let me know what you think about that. Comment below. Let me know what you thought about the ending of episode one and the kids getting massacred. Then we want to talk about that. And what's upcoming? What are you looking forward to? What are some questions you want to answer for this universe? And are you happy we're getting three parts: a 1962, 1935, and a 1908? It's your boy Flyknit J from Minor League Films here. Please like that video, hit that sub button. Again, we are chasing that 1,000 sub mark, and we are going to have a gift card giveaway when we do. So we'll figure out how to do that. I will give you more details when we have it. Don't forget, we're not only here, but we are also on TikTok at Kuronocomics, and we are at MLF Shorts on both TikTok and Instagram. So go over there. We got a lot of shorts running from shows that we've covered recently, and they're doing pretty well. So make sure you get over there and check those out. That's all I got for you right now. All that good stuff. Your boy Find It Jay. We'll catch you next time.